My name is Paul Dykes. I'm an engineer by training.
My name's Beverly. I work as a registered nurse.
So my name is Alex. I'm currently a student at Belfast Met's Film School.
Social distancing out in public spaces, don't really have a problem with that. Bit more of a problem when it comes to social distancing at work, because the type of work I do means I'm often near people, so that's a bit harder. And in terms of isolation, I'm a person that can be on my own or be with people. And at first it wasn't so bad, but the longer it drags on, the more effect the social isolation would have on me.
The social distancing, at first I was a wee bit confused because some people said it was 1 metre, some people said 2 metres, and now I think it's just you keep as big a distance as you can, really.
Back in March when this happened, I had this really bad cold at the time. It was literally in the same week as the shutdown happening. And when I was having that cold, I literally had thoughts of maybe actually having coronavirus. I mean, there were big key differences with the symptoms that made me knew it wasn't coronavirus, but there was still always that big fear that I could be infected and it could obviously lead to a lot worse. Thankfully, although it did turn out to be just a cold, so that went away eventually, but there was definitely a bit of an impact where it always got worse at night. So obviously just lying there sleepless with the cold and with only your thoughts really, the coronavirus paranoia that I was kind of having was at its worst.
I think I watched what was happening in China, and it was described as an epidemic at that point, and the deaths started to build up. And for me, the big turning point was when the deaths started to exceed the previous SARS and MERS diseases that they had previously. They were around about 800 deaths, and China went by that quite quickly. But the biggest change point of all was when they had a jump from China to Italy. And what was an epidemic eventually was declared as a pandemic. So I think the big jump into Europe was the thing that really got my attention. Unlike a lot of Westerners, I've done a lot of business with China over the years, and maybe been there about 24 times over quite a period of time. They have a different attitude, the Chinese, to food than we have. I've been to live markets. I have been to restaurants where the produce is live as you walk through the door type thing, and you select typically fish or so on to eat. Different culture.
I actually realised in about whenever the first broadcast of what was happening in China, I know definitely January, February, knew it was going to be bad, but I didn't know how bad.
Back in January when I first heard about it, I was just expecting it to be another Ebola or swine flu and not a big deal out here in Northern Ireland, because it never was back then. But since then it's obviously become apparent it's much more of a problem.
I work in a small company down in Cookstown, and COVID-19, initially in early March, we started to put in some social distancing measures. Hand washing became a lot more frequent. By mid-March, I guess the measures had become a bit more definite, and we were okay. But as time went on, I realised that there was too many people working in too small a space, and ultimately over that time our customers started to close down as well. So I started to put people onto furlough, and that really started around about the 23rd of March, and by the 30th of March, 1 week later, all 46 people that work for the business were on furlough.
The thing that's impacted my work is the fact that my work's been turned completely upside down. I'm in a job now that I used to do, and not the one that I usually would do, and I had to get my head around that, and then all the different precautions around the coronavirus. Obviously when you're going into people's houses, there's questions about, what you put on, gloves, apron, plastic apron, and a fluid repellent surgical mask, which in our country there seemed to be not so many of the masks. That was a wee bit of an issue. Putting it on before you go into the house of a person, and then taking it off and put it on in a wee bag, and then decontaminating your hands, and then everything that goes into your car is decontaminated. And there's been a bit of a shortage of alcohol as well, not the alcohol that you drink, but the alcohol is 60% that you have to use to decontaminate your hands with. So all those things are going around in your head while you're trying to do your job anyway, and keep people as safe as they possibly can.
For me, self-isolation has had most of an impact on my education, since I didn't have a job at the time of the shutdown, so there was no real worries of that. But for education, it pretty much, as my college campus was completely shut down and all film productions were shut down, there were a few days when there was confusion and chaos about what was going to be happening. So once that was all passed by and the lecturers were able to establish what to do now, it's led to us being able to do more online based work, and since then it's been less of a worry, but there has been times when there's obviously still been a lot of confusion regarding what's happening, so it's always been a bit of worry.
I think, although I don't have any personal experience of this type of thing, history tells us that all these things eventually come to an end.
You have to be hopeful. There isn't anything, there's no other way to look at it. If you didn't be hopeful, you'd end up in a wee hole in the ground.
Maybe there's some slight concern about the actual film industry in Northern Ireland, but I like to think that since we've kind of got a lot easier than other parts of the UK,